Kerala is a state on the southwestern Malabar coast of India. It was formed on 1st November 1956 following passage of the States Reorganisation Act by combining Malayalam-speaking region. Kerala is the 22nd largest Indian state by area. The region has been a prominent spice exporter since 3000 BCE. In Kerala's Ernakulam district there lies Kochi, the Queen of Arabian Sea, a major port on the southwest coast of India. Fort Kochi is a region in the Kochi city, which is a handful of waterbound regions towards the southwest of the mainland Kochi. Collectively called Old Kochi or West Kochi. As I drive over to the oldest part of the city, I have to pass through Wellington Island and Old Matanjeri Bridge, built by the British in 1940, with Robert Charles Bristow as the pioneer. Again, a monument built with steel and wood. I have to touch a few more kilometers from here to reach our destination. Namaskaram, this is Lakshmi from LifeSutras. Today we are standing in a special building. It is a heritage, it is a monument left over by the Dutch, one of the two remaining Dutch monuments in the sleepy town of Fort Kochi. In 1662, when the Dutch captured Kochi, the Portuguese had to flee. Almost everything of the Portuguese, their buildings, the remnants, whatever they had, were abolished by the Dutch. And in place of the Portuguese fort, they built their Dutch fort. The Dutch fort had many buildings, of which one of the buildings is David Hall. It is believed to have been the residence of the then Dutch governor Hendrik Adriaan van Reed tot Drakenstein. He is believed to have written the Hortus Malabaricus in this place. Hortus Malabaricus, we all know, is a 12-volume documentation of the flora and fauna across the Malabar coast. In 1695, David Hall was built by the Dutch East India Company. Let's see what is in here. It now is an art gallery. It has a small cafe, but definitely it has been untouched by the time. People who have taken over have seen that the architecture is untouched. The characteristic features of this Dutch building have not been altered drastically either by time or by its various occupants. The recent alterations made in the David Hall are in adherence with the Dutch typology. The typical Dutch architecture is visible in all elements, including the wooden roof, which is made of flat-face rafters. A droop in the world is seen as the result of these horizontal beams, and so the wood is supported by the trusses across them. As a whole, the roof gives a look of an upturned hill, and this architectural wonder is highlighted with the modern lighting in the hall. The 3-foot wide walls and the 4-column windows are the other characteristics of the building, and they add to its elegance. It still houses the bollard stone used centuries ago in wooden ships, which was used to balance weight. During the Dutch rule over Kochi, the Dutch established a close relationship with the Jews as a trading community. This relationship is possibly what led to the building being handed over to a Jewish family, and David Hall is thought to represent the Dutch-Jewish friendship that was part of the history of Kochi. Today, the LifeSutras will rewrite the history of David Hall. what is thought to be the name of the occupant called David Koder will now be different from today. Tales and social networking sites believe that the Dutch had gifted the building to an English Jew named David Koder. David Koder and his family lived in this building for many years. Later on, it was understood that the building was handed back over to the Dutch government and they had leased out the building to CGH hotels. The actual history of David Hall unfolds. The building was handed over by the Dutch to an English Jew, David Isaac David. He gifted it to his wife, who gifted it to one of the three sons, Elias David, who bequeathed it to his daughter Gladys, who got married to Sabdai Samuel Koder. So Gladys becomes Gladys Koder, and they sold it to Mr. M.J. Johnson of Manjooran Family in the year 1988. When the Netherlands government found their piece of heritage in Kochi, they expressed their wish to get it back. The building was later on resold to an Indo-Netherland Cultural Trust CNO on 12th December 1991, represented by its trustee Anand Singh Bhava from New Delhi. Around 8 years ago, Clean Green Hotels on Earth, an NGO organization, leased over and renovated the building as a cultural center and art gallery, with a cafeteria that serves the best pizzas in the town. The Dutch style has been kept intact and the modern lighting fixtures have been made to suit the architecture. A well-manicured garden and old trees in the courtyard to help the David Hall retain its grace intact. Its caretaker, happy-go-lucky soul Mr. Binu, shares his music and time with us today.
This is Mr. Binu. He's a caretaker. He's actually the all-in-all of the David Hall. So if you want to know any questions when you come here, you can actually meet him. So what is the speciality of the cafe here?
So we have the freshly baked oven cafe here, and they make the best in the pizza here.
Yeah, I see that it is a clay oven
That's
this
right,
year,
yeah.
which is not there in Kochi at
No,
all.
the same like the Italian style, but instead of the wood fire, we have the gas fire right now. But we have the mainly the pizza that make you can make your own pizza too.
The cafe, which is very close to nature, and Sir says that it is actually the bestest part for a traveler. He or she can spend as much of time here, have good food and good music.
And also it's an open place where the artists can come, they can spend the time meeting another artist, do their works and painting, drawing, they can do it also. Well, the theme same as said, the food in the time of art.
Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly?
Have the ultimate freedom to come into this Dutch monument and to play your own music, sing to the beats of the Beatles as well.
I like to come over to this quiet place, enjoy the art, sit beside that large window, gape out at the blue sky and the greenery below, or walk around, hum a song, click few pictures and soak in this time, sometimes with a friend, sometimes all by myself.
Dit gij de schoonste maagd zijt, zo kiest die dood, het is nog tijd. Wel als ik dan hier kiezen zou, zo kies ik dan het zweet vooral. Zo kies ik dan het zweet vooral. Maar trekt eerst uit uw opperskleed, want maagdenbloed dat spreidt zoveel. Van maagdenbloed dat spreidt zoveel.
The more you discover, the more you want to discover of this once colonial land called Fort Kochi. It is not a city, it is a feeling. As we Malayalis say, Changalla Changidippanu Kochi. As I return back to the mainland, I promise myself to come back for more stories of history, legends, and mystics.
I'm sad to say I'm on my way. We'll be back for many a day. My heart is down, my heart is tender. Have to live a little like used to die. Down the way, Mexican and the south, you are a mother town. I took it
I'll sing het en klingend reeds door het bos. I'll sing het en klingend reeds door het bos.